What's happening, world? B Marsh Boxing, and we back at it with another boxing video. So, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, two guys from England, are currently the heavyweight champions of the world. The titles are fragmented, of course. They've been fragmented since Lennox Lewis decided to vacate his WBA title back in the day, and then eventually vacated his IBF strap back in the day and remained with the WBC. So nobody has consolidated the world titles at heavyweight ever since, you know what I mean? And we're talking about like 1999. We're talking about 21 years later, and we still don't have an undisputed fighter. Now, for sure, Lennox Lewis retired as the universally recognized heavyweight champion of the world. But like I said, the belts got fragmented. They went all over the place. You know what I mean? The WBO title wasn't regarded as one of the four major titles back in the day. So Lennox Lewis had three of the major titles. You know what I mean? But when he didn't fight, what's his name, John Ruiz, and decided to fight guys like what's his name, Michael Grant rather than John Ruiz, he decided to vacate his WBA title. And like I said, he had an IBF strap as well, and that was the last title he vacated. Now, like I said, Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, they possess all the world titles. They all reside in England. You know what I mean? For the first time ever in life, all the world titles are in England. And I'm talking about from the sanctioning body era, you know what I mean? Um, this guy, Eddie Hearn, on the other hand, who is Anthony Joshua's promoter, he's expressed his desire to have, a unification for Undisputed between Joshua and Fury at the end of the year. You know what I mean? You check it. Tyson Fury just beat Deontay Wilder. Now he has the WBC title, and of course, Anthony Joshua has a mandated fight he has to fulfill versus his IBF mandatory in Kubrat Pulev, and that's supposed to be on June in London at the Tottenham Hotspur's new stadium. You know what I mean? Um, and of course, Deontay Wilder and Anthony and Tyson Fury, they're supposed to have a fight as well, the rematch. It was supposed to be in July, but due to this global pandemic, COVID-19, the date has been pushed back tentatively to October 3rd. You know what I mean? Now Eddie Hearn would like for both what's his name, Deontay Wilder and Kubrat Pulev to accept step aside money. You know what I'm saying? To let Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury go ahead and consolidate all the belts for an undisputed fight. I'm not mad at an undisputed fight at all, but will Wilder accept any step aside money? I don't think Wilder's hurting for money. And I think really and truly with this COVID-19, it only does him good to have this pandemic going on right now because it's buying him precious time. I made a video about that. This scenario right here, or this situation with this pandemic, it's only giving the man Wilder more precious time to go ahead and work on his craft, reevaluate what he wants to do as far as does he really want to go ahead with the rematch. And Deontay Wilder has showed no resistance, like he's doesn't want the rematch. Unlike Tyson Fury, the first time they were supposed to do the rematch, as you can recall, there was plenty of resistance. There was talks about now fighting the Tom Schwartz and these other kind of characters, you know what I mean? And we had to wait another whole year for, excuse me, for Wilder and Fury, you know what I mean? But in the meantime, in between time, Fury was still active. But with this long delay because of the pandemic, I think Deontay Wilder, it could only be an upside for him to buy more time, you know what I mean, to work on his skill set. As for Fury, though, it could be detrimental for him not being active. Tyson Fury has his demons that he has to, conquer, and he's always let it be known that, staying out the ring is not good for him. You know what I mean? To be mentally stable and to keep himself motivated, he has to be active. So all this time out is more benefiting the man Deontay Wilder rather than Tyson Fury. Okay, so will Wilder accept step aside money? And he ain't gonna take no little peanuts. You know what I mean? Them fellas gonna demand millions. You know what I'm saying? And I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. I think Deontay Wilder is a prideful guy, and he's a guy who is gonna want to try back, get back what he's his world title that he held for 5 years. You know what I mean? On the other hand, a guy like Kubrat Pulev has been the mandatory. You got to remember, he was the mandatory for Anthony Joshua when Joshua fought the man Carlos Taco, the African. Where is he from? Cameroon, based out in France. You know what I mean? In a difficult fight for Anthony Joshua. You know what I mean? Personally, I thought that it was a bad stoppage. I thought that the man uh, Carlos Taka was being aggressive, coming on strong, and was still in the fight despite being knocked down once. You know what I mean? He was still there. And I just thought it was a bad stoppage. You know what I'm saying? And, I've seen bad stoppages before. What's another fight that I consider a bad stoppage? Uh, I don't know, even like Anthony Joshua and Klitschko, you know what I mean? I think the man was still on his feet when he got stopped, you know what I mean? And he might have been hurt for sure, but I think, a fight of that magnitude, man, I want to see somebody laid out before the referee just jumps in there and calls it a stoppage. But that's neither here nor there, you know what I mean? So Kuba Pulev was supposed to be fighting in that particular fight rather than Carlos Takam, who Carlos Takam was a last minute replacement because Kubra Pulev pulled out with an injury, you know what I mean? About to get his biggest payday of his career, but he pulled out with an injury. So would the man Kubra Pulev step aside yet again and not fulfill his mandatory, get his mandatory shot and let Tyson Fury and AJ fight? Personally, I highly doubt it. The guy's been waiting since what? Maybe was it 2016, 2017 for his opportunity? I'd say 2017. And it's here now, you know what I mean? Not to mention that, Kubra Pulev is promoted by Top Rank, you know what I mean? I don't think Bob Arum would want to give up that opportunity to have his heavyweight yet again challenge for the heavyweight titles of the world and possibly could win it, you know what I mean? Anything's possible in boxing. We've seen Anthony Joshua is by no means invincible or unbeatable. We've seen him get ragdolled and pummeled and dropped 4 times versus Andy Ruiz, a guy who, you know, from the outside looking in, a guy who looks like he's inferior to Anthony Joshua, but he didn't get the memo and he battered Joshua and he gave a blueprint, you know what I mean, of how to beat Joshua because he was the first man to do it. Now, Pulev, I highly doubt that the man takes step aside money just off the strength. Bob Arum is in position to have yet another heavyweight of his challenge for the world titles, and he could possibly, if Pulev wins, he could have an undisputed fight on his hands in Las Vegas between two Europeans. A British man and a guy from where's the guy Kubra Pulev from? From not Belgium, not Romania. Where's he from? Not Hungary. Jesus Christ, how could I forget where this guy's from? Uh, it's escaping my mind where he's from, you know what I mean? But he's from one of them European countries, but not Bosnia, not Belgium. Where's he from? Somebody in the chat, let me know. Let it be known. Where Kubra Pulev from again? Matter of fact, the chat, what's up with you? AA Boxing and Blunts in the chat. What's good, man? He's in the chat. He says they would need to pay Pulev his full purse. If Fury AJ fought there, would be rematch in IBF, WBO, and WBC have mandatories appointed. Absolutely. You're absolutely right, man. They'd have to give Pulev a boatload of money, you know what I mean? And there'll definitely be a rematch clause for a fight between Fury and Anthony Joshua. So that could delay everybody, you know what I mean? Who's trying to get their opportunity. So what's up, Set Shot? What's the deal, man? Set Shot's in the chat. He says, if Wilder were to step and be guaranteed to fight the winner for all the belts, it's okay. It's okay by me. Absolutely, man. But to be honest, is that possible? Because just off the strength that you know, there'll probably be a rematch clause in the undisputed fight between Fury and what's his name, AJ. The stakes is high. The Yeah, he's Bulgarian. I just Kubra Pulev's Bulgarian. I know it was one of them B countries, not Bosnia, not Belgium, Bulgaria. Okay, I'm gonna read some quotes from what the man Bob Barum had to say concerning his man Pulev, uh, and if the step aside money is a possibility or is it highly unlikely. Bob Barum says, "Quote: I suppose anything is possible, but Pulev has rights. He has entered he has entered into a contract. Wilder has a contract to fight Fury yet again. No promoter like me, Eddie Hearn, or Frank Warren is going to violate a contract. So let's take a step back here. We have to respect everybody's rights. Is it possible that Pulev and Wilder step aside to let Fury and AJ fight? Anything's possible, but it's up to them." End quote. And these are quotes from Bob Arum talking to BBC Sport. Okay, so this is my thing, right? When Anthony Joshua lost to the man Andy Ruiz, there was very little talk, if any, at least from what I've heard. You know what I mean? I'm not going to act like I'm subscribed to every single channel here on YouTube and I know what everybody says. You know what I mean? Um, there wasn't any much talk of Andy Ruiz or Anthony Joshua be given some step aside money so Andy Ruiz could fight Deontay Wilder and have a unification because just, you know, 3, 4 months ago, all the heavyweight world titles were in the United States and they were under the PBC banner, you know what I mean? With Deontay Wilder holding the WBC and the other three titles held by the man Andy Ruiz. But nobody was really talking about. I know personally, I wanted to see the rematch. There was some talk of people saying, not so much said, "Oh, Andy Ruiz need to give the man Anthony Joshua step aside money so he can face Deontay Wilder." For one, it probably wasn't feasible because Anthony Joshua's a big cash cow. What could Andy Ruiz really offer him? Andy Ruiz didn't get the lion's share of the purse. Anthony Joshua did. So what could he really offer Anthony Joshua as far as step aside money? I personally don't think he was even in position to do that. You know what I mean? Just off the finances, what both guys earn. You know what I'm saying? But there was plenty of talk of some people on the fence about if Anthony Joshua should go back into the rematch, an immediate rematch with the man uh, 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 Andy Ruiz. If I'm not mistaken, even Anthony Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn had some concerns whether he should go back into an immediate rematch. Remember, guys like Amir Khan would saying it's a bad idea for Anthony Joshua to go back into an immediate rematch. That's the only talk I heard of maybe that fight possibly not happening. Not for the fact that people wanted to see undisputed between Ruiz and AJ. It's just of the fact people were concerned of Anthony Joshua's livelihood and his health. Can he do it again? I'm sorry, can he Will he get beat up again? Can he win back his titles? A lot of people on the fence if he should take the rematch. I personally wanted to see the rematch. If he loses his belts, I'm sorry, if he loses the rematch, so be it. But I wanted to see the rematch. I didn't want Anthony Joshua to not avenge back his loss. You know what I mean? Whether he won it or lost, I really wanted to see the rematch rather than Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz for Undisputed because me personally, the way I seen it, Andy Ruiz wasn't in the clear yet. You know what I mean? You know, yes, he had beat the man AJ thoroughly in the first fight, got dropped off the canvas, got off the canvas, and got to work. You know what I mean? But I personally didn't think he was in the clear. I still thought he had unfinished business. You got to prove it twice, especially being an underdog or a guy nobody believed would have even won the first fight. And he failed miserably in his second attempt. You know what I mean? You check it, the man didn't come in shape, whatnot. So obviously it worked out for Anthony Joshua. My point is, why people talking about Wilder need to take step aside money, or they don't want to see the rematch. I think, or with Tyson Fury and Wilder, I think there's an agenda there. Why people don't want to see the rematch? You know what I mean? You check it. The first fight was a draw. If we really want to settle on who's the best of the best between these two, the third fight has to happen. And if Wilder gets his ass handed to him, like in the second fight, so be it. Life goes on. Now let's talk about an undisputed fight. If the man Anthony Joshua fulfills his mandatories and is in the clear to go ahead and do a unification for undisputed. But I personally am not with that Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua all this talk about them trying to give guys step aside money. I personally just think, like Bob Am said, there's contracts and contracts that have to be fulfilled, and it's up to AJ. I'm sorry, it's up to Wilder and Pulev. You know what I mean? But nah, I want to see the rematch, the trilogy fight between Fury and Wilder. You know what I'm saying? Wilder, Fury got to beat that man twice to be in the clear to move on. You know what I mean? You check it, and then after that, then he can go ahead and pursue an undisputed fight. You know, I just think it's funny how most people want to now try to push Wilder to the curb, like the man has numerous losses or he's not a capable heavyweight anymore. Look, regardless of what people want to say about Wilder's career and whatnot, for a guy who started boxing late, considering that the man started boxing at about 19 or 20, you know what I'm saying? Um, and to have very few amateur fights with his undeveloped skill set and even still go to the Seoul Korea Olympics, or is it Beijing, excuse me, Beijing, China, 2008, and still come out there with the bronze medal, achieve a world title, and achieve a world title, you know what I'm saying, and from the heavyweight division and maintain it for 5 years. That's an accomplishment that people just can't take away from Wilder, you know what I'm saying? Or any fighter who's done these type of has these type of accomplishments. It's not right for anybody to take away their accomplishments, you know what I mean? Wilder has one loss on his record. It's boxing, you know what I mean? There's not too many people who are undefeated. As of right now, there's only one dominant heavyweight who's undefeated, and that's Tyson Fury. Deontay Wilder's contractually obligated to handle, go ahead and into the third fight with a trilogy. You know what I mean? So all the step aside money talk and talk about that Wilder need to fall back. No, the man is he was a title holder. He had the world title. He lost his world title for the first time in 5 years, and he's contractually obligated to fight in the trilogy fight. You know what I mean? Like I said, nobody was talking about Anthony Joshua ex- um, accepting step aside money so the PBC could have a unification. You know what I mean? I wasn't with that neither. Because Andy Ruiz still had his business to handle. You know what I mean? You check it. Nobody was talking about Wilder needs to give because we all knew Wilder was supposed to have a rematch with Tyson Fury. Nobody was talking about will Tyson Fury accept step aside money so Andy Ruiz and Wilder could get it on for Undisputed. You know what I mean? So I think boxing fans gotta stay consistent, man, and put your prejudice and your hatred towards certain fighters aside, and let the game of boxing play its course. You know what I mean? Well, I'd love to see Undisputed too when people in the clear. You know what I mean? To me, when Ruiz and Wilder had the world titles, Undisputed was the furthest thing from my mind because I knew AJ, it's up to him if he wants to go ahead and do the rematch. And there wasn't any inclination or any thought from me that the man Anthony Joshua will pull out of a big rematch after losing all three of his world titles to let other guys fight for it. That's not happening, and that shouldn't happen in the case of Deontay Wilder. And like I said, Bob Arum ain't gonna let no Pulev take no step aside money unless it's a a lot of money to the point where the man Kubrat Pulev probably got to break off Bob Arum a certain percentage of it, where they both gonna eat a whole lot of money without even having to do anything. That's the only scenario I can see Kubrat Pulev saying, "Okay, I'll let my mandatory position pass me by for the second time in my career with the IBF." And I highly doubt it. I think Kubrat Pulev, if he has any if he's not talking that scared shit like he was talking when they were both supposed to fight. I remember making videos about Kubra Pulev talking about he's scared for his life or something to fight Anthony Joshua. This was when Anthony Joshua was undefeated and whatnot. You know what I mean? So personally, I think Anthony Joshua and Fury need to do what they got to do, and so do Kubra Pulev and Wilder. And that's face the world champions as the challengers as far as Kubra Pulev and Wilder. And we'll see how the dice rolls from there. You know what I mean? So all that talk about guys stepping again, step aside money, people need to leave that alone. You know what I mean? Because you guys ain't had the same energy when it was Anthony Joshua trying to pursue back his titles. Like I said, there were some people concerned for Wilder's, I'm sorry, for AJ's life as far as will he get beat up again and is he ready for the second fight? You know, the guy didn't look like, all that type of stuff. But it wasn't because people wanted to see Undisputed so much. I think it's just the fact that people don't want to see Wilder fight again for a world title. They want to act like he didn't exist and that man was never part of this new era or the post Klitschko era. You know what I'm saying? So, nah. A guy's got contracts, and I want to see the trilogy fight. Like I said, this time off is buying Deontay Wilder precious time. This COVID-19 to go ahead and work on his skill set. I think it's a blessing for Wilder to have all this time off to go ahead and tune up his skill set. As for Fury, all this time off, it's no good. The guy's a manic depressant. The guy's a guy who could he could resort back to his transgressions and his demons, you know what I mean? And if that's the case, then Wilder has an opportunity to get his world titles back. But then again, time will tell. Maybe Tyson Fury has you know, maybe he's gotten past his addictions or his transgressions, and maybe he has channeled his inner well-being, and maybe being with his families might be a positive thing while they quarantined. Time will tell, man. But at the end of the day, that's why the fights need to happen. Let me read the chat one time before I step up out of here. Set shot, I read that one okay. Set shot says, are rematches in title fights mandatory, or are they just customary in contracts? Some guys have rematch clauses. Some guys don't. You know what I mean? Some guys choose to exercise their rematch clause. Some guys don't. Like for example, Jared Hurd, he didn't exercise his rematch clause, and at the end of the day, the champion who beat him got knocked out, got stopped in the fifth round by the challenger, Jason Rosario. So That's probably an opportunity. Jared Hurd's looking like, damn, I probably should have gone into the fight, but at the end of the game, I don't blame him one bit for not going ahead and fighting in the rematch because a lot of stuff happened within his camp. Him and his trainer stopped talking. There was a whole lot of stuff that went on between Jared Hurd and that Ernesto, that former cop. I think a former DC cop who was his trainer. So the man ain't have a trainer for months up until he got with that Coach K guy from New Jersey who trains a lot of amateurs and Shakur Stevenson, you know what I mean? And they always go train out there in Colorado Springs where the U.S. national boxing team go ahead and train before, when they getting ready for national or international tournaments. So Jared Hurd had to get accustomed to his new trainer, and the trainer said, "Look, man, I'm not in this for the money. If we're gonna take that rematch, we got to do this right. We got to get accustomed to each other and get to know each other and learn each other out." And that's why Jared Hurd never got an opportunity, or he turned down his opportunity for the rematch. And I'm not mad at him one bit, because at the end of the day, you want to get used to your trainer, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, now Jared, I'm sorry, that rematch is off the table because J Rock got his ass handed to him in his hometown. All right, Set Shot says, I want Wilder Fury 3 as well, badly. Yeah, I do too. I do too, you know what I mean? Because, you know, can Fury do that again in the third fight? Ragdoll and beat Wilder up all over the ring? If I had to put my money on it and bet, I'd say no. Because we've seen the first fight and we've seen where Wilder has dropped a guy twice. So if he can do that twice, and of course, Fury, he's the one who dropped Wilder twice in the second fight. So anything's possible. But if I had to play my percentages and probabilities, uh, if anybody would get dropped in the third fight, I'd put my money on Wilder dropping Fury. Now it's boxing; anything could happen. Just like in the second fight, anything could happen. But that's why we want to see the fight, and I agree with you 100%. Set shot. I want to see the third fight as well. Gaines PP, what the deal, Gaines PP? How you doing, man? He's in the chat. He says, if he steps aside, he may never get a title shot. Absolutely. Now, who you talking about first and foremost? Gaines PP. If who steps aside? If Wilder steps aside, I'm assuming that's who you mean. Because Kubrat Pulev, if he steps aside, I don't think he's gonna frighten anybody in the heavyweight division. But Deontay Wilder, if he doesn't take his title shot again, that fellas ain't gonna get a title shot no time soon. You know what I mean? People gonna curb him and duck him and avoid him because at the end of the day, he is a high risk, you know what I mean, when you're fighting him. Now, is it a high risk, low reward? I would assume if he loses the third fight, his paydays won't be as great as they have been in the two Fury fights, you know what I mean? His payday's gonna go down. So now at that point in time, I think he would become a high risk, low reward type fighter, and I don't think a lot of heavyweights or would even fight him in eliminators. And Deontay Wilder, if he doesn't get his title shot, I don't see Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury just say, "Okay, come, let's fight again." You know what I mean? I highly doubt it, especially Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. Maybe Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, they think, maybe Eddie Hearn is seeing all the big mega bucks if the fight can happen in England between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. But looks like Tyson Fury ain't worried about the money. Well, maybe he is, but he has no choice because of all the accusations and allegations going on over there in England about doping and stuff. You know what I mean? Where he hasn't renewed British boxing license, so that could damper and put a stop to any type of undisputed fight between Anthony Joshua and Fury happening in England, and that's where the mega bucks are. Now Fury's known here in the United States more than Anthony Joshua, and that's a fact. No disputing, no debating, no arguing about that. Tyson Fury's a guy who's fought, who boosted his profile by going into the WWF. You know what I mean? Beating Wilder in that type of fashion, a big heavyweight extravaganza we had here in the United States that we haven't had one since Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson. and Tyson Fury came out the victor. So he's definitely well known, character wise. He's a jovial guy. He's a guy who has a lot of character and personality. So he's definitely more well known. I'm trying to tell you, man. I was watching the fight with at least 10 people, Wilder Fury 3. You know what I mean? And most of them did not know who Anthony Joshua is. I asked almost everybody in the room because they know me as the resident boxing head, and the, there was about 2 or 3 people. That's people I watch boxing with. They know who AJ is, yes, but the rest of the people, they did not know who Anthony Joshua is. You know what I mean? But they know who Fury is because they've seen the two fights with Deontay Wilder. Now a fight between Wilder and AJ. I'm sorry, AJ and Fury here in the United States, maybe a place like Las Vegas, maybe Madison Square Garden. If the man ain't gonna be able to fight in England again because he ain't renewing his British boxing license, then hey, I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure what look, I'm sure the world will be watching it, but not quite to the magnitude as how if there's an American in it. Now, if this fight is in England, it's a massive fight in England, no doubt about it. You know what I'm saying? So, what's up, Brooklyn Child Boxer? What the deal, man? How you feeling, man? He said, "Salute, my G. Hope is all is well." Yeah, man, all is good. Can't complain except for the COVID-19, but I'm not the only one going through that, so I ain't gonna complain. But all is well. You know what I mean? Brooklyn Shot Boxer says Wilder needs to get his belt back. Yeah, he needs an opportunity to try to get his belt back. You know what I mean? You know, he owes it to the world, not just his fans, to the world, because a lot of people thought this would be a competitive fight, and the betting odds were very close. It was like a 49-51 type of fight in favor of the man Deontay Wilder. The betting odds were real close, as in, like, you had to put, like, Wilder was maybe a plus 100, and the man Tyson Fury is a minus 100. You know what I mean? It was that close. So Deontay Wilder owes it to the world to redeem himself and give a more competitive uh, heavyweight championship fight of that type of magnitude. I'm sorry, Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis wasn't competitive. Mike Tyson only won one round, and that's because he was way past his prime, and that's just what it is. You know what I mean? The and it's different if you get beat, like you just can't box with this guy or you just can't beat him, kind of like Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield. You know what I mean? Holyfield didn't get battered and dropped all over the place. He just couldn't get past that jab, and he just couldn't beat Lennox Lewis even on his best day. Styles make fights, and that's why Wilder needs to redeem himself, and he owes the whole world a third glance at what he can really do. You know what I mean? He has something to prove. You know what I mean? Brooklyn Child Boxing says this time off will benefit Wilder 100%. Benefits him more than Tyson Fury, in my opinion. But then again, maybe Tyson Fury has channeled his inner well being, and maybe he might come back even better. But that's why we need to see the fight, right? All right, where we at? Dan Bergkamp. He says, I'm not interested in a third fight. Set Shot says Fury can never fight in UK again. Yeah, man, the man ain't trying to renew his boxing license over there in England because, these allegations of this farmer claiming that he wasn't, he got bribed to say, that he's the one who provided the meat that had the nandalone in it for both Huey Fury and Tyson Fury. There's a whole kind of stuff, you know what I mean, going on with Tyson Fury, and him not trying to renew his boxing license is actually a red flag. He's from England. Maybe he's like, look, England never really showed him the type of love that they show Anthony Joshua. Although he's the one who first beat Klitschko, he's the one who opened up the floodgates for the heavyweight division for everybody um, to eat, basically, after Klitschko. You know what I mean? He's the one who opened up the floodgates and beat Klitschko first, but he ain't get the love from the fans like Anthony Joshua did, beating Tyson Fury's leftovers. And that possibly, is something that Tyson Fury, that, that's bothering him all these years. You know what I mean? When he won 2015, he should have been the England or the British Sportsman of the Year. He didn't get it. Maybe I've heard in England, I don't know any travelers or gypsies here in the United States. I don't know any. There might be some. I don't know. United States a big country. You know what I mean? I live in a metropolis of the nation's capital. There ain't no gypsies or travelers here in District of Columbia in D.C. or in the surrounding areas in Maryland, in Virginia, and PG County, Montgomery County, Silver Spring. There's no gypsies out here. If they are, I never seen them. But I've heard in England, these people are looked down upon and they're discriminated against, and they're racially profiled over there. And maybe that's the type of love that the type of energy that's been given to Tyson Fury over there in England. You know what I mean? Personally, I think people have now warmed up to Tyson Fury after he came back from his transgressions of obesity, substance abuse, alcohol abuse, depression, suicidal thoughts. I think that story that he gave opened up his. He warmed up to a lot of people in England. You know what I mean, and in the world, and especially in the United States, and him coming back off the canvas and getting up and in the 12th round, and then coming back in the second fight and whooping Wilder's ass. I think I think his stock has grown some in England, but it ain't like Anthony Joshua's, and that's the fact. You know what I mean? And maybe Tyson Fury, he's like, you know what, England, my biggest paydays I ever made were United States. I'm a historian of the game more than guys like Wilder and Fury. I know about the Michael Spinkses of the world, John L. Sullivan's, Muhammad Ali's, and lineage and stuff like that. I'm a student of the game. I was born to do this from my family. You know what I mean? I'm come from a fighting family. To him, maybe he feels, you know what, and he knows this is USA, Jack. This is where America. This is where heavyweight legends and just legends. Period in boxing. I'm not saying they're not legends from other parts of the world, but if you can conquer America in your division, then you got it made. You know what I mean? A guy like Anthony Joshua has been talking about something to the effect of Wilder and Fury. No, I'm sorry, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury talking about himself, AJ and Fury. They don't get as they should. They don't get respect from the American fan base like they should and whatnot. And they feels like they should be more respected in America because the media doesn't really give them credit and stuff like that. To be honest, I think Anthony Joshua should speak for himself. Tyson Fury gets enough credit here in USA, Jack, from the media. I mean, look at ESPN, man. Before, while this guy was claiming he was a lineal champion, beating the likes of Otto Wallen and Tom Schwartz, ESPN had him as the number one heavyweight on the planet with just a lineal title. And he didn't really have the lineal title. They was calling him the lineal champion. He is now. Let's get that straight. He is now. And I made a video on the Saturday, that same Saturday when on February 22nd when Wilder and Fury fought, and I said the winner of the winner of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder rematch will be recognized as the WBC, the ring, and the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. And that's exactly what happened. And those three titles are held by the man Tyson Fury. But Anthony Joshua saying that, I was thinking to myself, he need to speak for himself. Maybe they don't respect you here in USA. Look how you came to USA and you wet the bed. The bright lights of Gotham, Madison Square Garden were too bright for AJ, and his 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 American debut was a utter failure. And that's one thing he can never live down. Only way he can live that down is if he comes back to USA and conquers his demons. You know what I'm saying? So he can speak for himself. Tyson Fury gets enough respect in America from everybody. As far as people saying the Glovegate situation, now that right there, it might be or it might not be a situation. At the end of the day, if it's not being investigated, or even if Deontay Wilder is not making any, um, if Deontay Wilder is not making any excuses about that, then people gotta let that one rest. You know what I mean? Deontay Wilder is the only one who can get his belts back. He ain't gonna get his belts back by people signing a petition here on YouTube for the man Deontay Wilder to get back his world titles. It don't work like that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Tyson Fury is respected and well known in America. Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, and this is the truth, man. And if you don't like the truth, then man, you gotta check your inner compass, man. If you can't accept the truth of the matter that Tyson Fury is way more popular in America than Anthony Joshua, then man, I don't know what to say to you, man. I can't, people like you need Jesus in your life if you can't accept that. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, look, Tyson, what's his name? What's the guy's name? Lennox Lewis might have not been respected as much in the American public, media, and by the fans because we've seen this guy get mollywopped twice. When you see a guy get beat up twice, but first time getting knocked out in the second round by Oliver McCall, and not to mention the world title that Lennox Lewis first had, he didn't have to fight anybody for it. This is boxing, man, and look, man, just like Roy Jones, his reign at light heavyweight when he had a WBC belt that he beat off of old Mike McCallum. Then he got elevated to the real champion when Fabrice Tiozzi, another gypsy, a traveler just like Tyson Fury, but from France, he vacated the straps, so moved up in weight. And then Roy Jones beat Lou Duval and he beat Reggie Johnson. Look, a lot of people consider those to be paper titles that Roy Jones has, just off the strength of how he got him and who he beat. He didn't beat Darius Pichakowski. I've said it before and I've said it again, man. That's one of the fights in life, my whole life watching boxing, that I still can't believe today, till 2020, that fight never happened, man. Till today, you know what I mean? Because that period of the light heavy, you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna make a whole different video about that. This video right here is about Fury and Kubrat and the four heavyweights. The two champions and the two challenges. You know what I mean? And Tyson Fury, you know, he legitimately has a world title. You know what I mean? Some may say that the two titles, the WBA and the IBF world titles that um, AJ have are also paper towels. I said paper towels, paper titles. You know what I mean? It's all about whom you beat and how you acquire these world titles. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you're gonna be respected. You know what I mean? It's just the truth. You know what I'm saying? Just like as a Charles. You know what I mean? He beat Jersey Joe Walcott, but he didn't get respected by the boxing public up until he had to beat the real champion who had retired, who was the man, what's his name, Joe Louis. You know what I mean? So that's what it is right now, and we'll see what happens. So B March Boxing, big ups to everybody in the chat. Set shot, Dan Burkamp, Brooklyn Child Boxing, Gaines PP, AA Boxing and Blunt. Salute to everybody. I didn't think I'd go on for 44 minutes. I think I got some more other videos to do, but here we go. This is what we talking about right now. Salute to everybody. Please hit the thumbs up on your way in and on your way out. If you like the content, please share and subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm gone. Peace.